Luxury clothing maker Chanel sued mobile phone maker Huawei, I'm probably saying that wrong, but I don't care, for trademark infringement and lost. We're going to look at the case and talk about the factors involved. I'm Angela Langlotz. I go here live on weekdays to discuss trademarks and copyright. So recently, clothing maker and also a lot of other stuff maker Chanel sued mobile phone maker Huawei about a trademark infringement over their logo. And I'm going to show you the logo in a minute. Now, remember that famous marks get extra protection against trademark infringement against something called dilution. Dilution refers to the use of a famous mark for other things that the famous mark isn't known for. So famous marks sometimes have brand deals and product deals with other companies that make other sorts of things that the famous mark isn't known for. So that's why we want to protect the famous mark from dilution. We want to protect their right to expand their goods and services and their offerings. So what happened here? Well, let's go look at the logo. You can see on the left here, this is Huawei's logo, and then the Chanel logo is on the right. So in Europe, Chanel sued and said, hey, this interlocking U logo looks awfully a lot like our Chanel logo. We think that's too close. The European court wasn't having any of it. They said, no, actually, there's significant differences between the two things. One of the differences being that the C logo on the right is much, much thicker than the U logo on the left. Now, do I think these are confusingly similar? Actually, I don't. I think the court made the right decision. But what are some of the factors that go into this whole confusingly similar analysis? Well, one of the things that we look at is how much do the marks actually look like each other? Do they give the same commercial impression to the consumer? That is a really important inquiry that we look at. And here, the European court felt that they gave a dissimilar commercial impression, in part because the Chanel logo was made of C's and not of U's, and it was much thicker. It does, to me, give a much different commercial impression, and I would not be confused by these. Now, I know I said that famous marks get extra protection from infringement, but we also look at the scope of the goods offered by the two companies. Now here, Chanel makes cosmetics and clothing and handbags and shoes, and they haven't done much of a foray into electronic goods. They may make cellular phone cases, but they're not known for making consumer electronics. Okay, so I'm sure that factored into the court's decision as well. Generally speaking, when we have this sort of trademark dispute, we look at the similarities and dissimilarities between the goods of the two company or the services. If it's services, we look at the goods and we say, is the consumer going to expect that a company who makes clothing and cosmetics and shoes and handbags is also going to make cellular phones? And I think the answer is a decided no. We don't, as consumers, see that in the marketplace. We don't see any telephone makers making handbags and clothing and shoes. Now, they may, like Apple, have clothing trademarks, but those are sort of ancillary, right? It's like the swag bag that you get, and you might buy a piece of merchandise like an Apple phone, and they may give you a complimentary t-shirt with the Apple on it, but Apple is not in the business necessarily of making t-shirts, and that's not what they're known for. So as a consumer, I wouldn't be confused and think that somebody who is making mobile phones would also go into luxury clothing and cosmetics and handbags and shoes. That's not something that we typically see as consumers in the marketplace. But like I said, in this case, both of the marks are famous, so famous marks get extra protection from dilution. So this was probably, a little bit of an analysis that they went into that I don't have time to go into in a 5-minute video. I'm Angela Langlotz, trademark and copyright lawyer. I go live here on weekdays to talk trademarks and copyrights. If you have questions, drop them into the comments below. I'll answer them on a future live video. You can find me online at TrademarkDoctor.net, on YouTube at video.trademarkdoctor.net/YouTube, and I have a big page on Facebook at facebook.com/trademarkdoctor.